Right. Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to be letting people in as we go. Today, we're talking about our e-tools that we've got available. We've got 3 things on the interwebs for you. And somebody asked me, why are we doing this? Well, why are we going E? I suppose the easiest question, the answer is to appease Mark's bunny-hugging spirit and to stop burning down the rainforests. We do not need to print as much as we've always thought we had to. So if you move everything onto the internet, and there are many apps, and we've got this brilliant tool available, it makes our lives easier and it stops us printing paper unnecessary. That's the one thing, obviously. The second thing is, with COVID around, you don't really want to give a person a piece of paper, because when people offer me something, I go, yeah, I don't really want it. And, you know, it's a bit of it's a mess. And a sure way to pass it around is to sign a form and then pass it to 4 other people to sign. And nobody's ever got a flipping pen. So I've got to give these people my pen, and then I throw them away and I'm running out of pens. So that's the second reason. The third reason, of course, has got nothing to do with that. It's got to do with being a professional agent. We live in 2021. The fact that you people even got paper in your car is astounding. We have got the best technology system in the group, in the country, in fact. We've got these magical machines around us, and some of us still use paper. I mean, it's ludicrous. You can't purport to be on top of your game and a leading agent if you've got a old index card system and files and paper, and it's all moving. So you've got to keep up. So that's the real reason. So, okay, I'm going to very quickly go through this. The COVID forms, I'm only going to show you. Now, the guys that I'm going to share my screen, and look how good I am at it nowadays. I'm being very good at it. I'm assuming you can all see that. Can you see that? Are we looking at this one with the email with my face jumping up and down? Yes? No? So it is. Can you see this one with my face email jumping up and down? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Okay, so the COVID app, these ones here, these 2, I have sent to you on WhatsApp, and they live in the COSA announcements WhatsApp group, which is a group of all you guys that we don't talk on. It's just for me to tell you stuff. So if you're looking for something like this, don't go to the All Agents group where we've got 5,000 happy birthdays and all this other stuff going on. Go to the announcements group, because the announcements group has got very little of that, and you'll be able to find these things. Okay, so the first one that you will see, if you go to the announcements group, let me show you.
Sorry, Anton, just to let you know, if you go to the actual message and you press star, say star this message, then all you need to do is go to the actual group, and it'll bring up that particular message, only that one.
Oh, as your favorite,
or anyone else that you say.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, you can save that, just that, that link.
Okay, so what Kathy's
in that app.
Yes, lovely. So what Kathy's saying is, if you go to your WhatsApp, this is my WhatsApp, and here's the message. And if you go to this little drop down and you push star message, then when you go back to the group, you can look for the message that are your favorites, or it'll be up there at the top. Oh, look here now, I've changed something. Okay, thank you for that. So anyway, those two lists are here. What are these viewing protocols? The reason is we don't want to give people paper, we don't want to receive paper, but more than that, we want to know who the person is that we're taking to the property for security. We want to keep you safe. So you don't want to get mugged, you don't want to land up in the boot, you don't want to get hijacked, and this has happened to agents. It happens, it's real. So we'd like to know. This is a very, very nice way of asking somebody for their ID number and who they are. So I like it very much. So all you do is you go to this viewing protocol, landowner or landlord declaration, and you click on it, you see? And it takes you to the interwebs page. And there's the viewing form. So what does that mean? That means that when you're talking to your client, all you do is you send them this link. And you say to them, please fill in that form. They fill in the form, they push submit, and you get the email. I also like it, and the way I've designed it is they have to put in your email address. And I want them to know who you are. So we could automatically populate that, but I don't want to automatically populate it. I want you and them to have a discussion, and I want them to know who you are. I want them to know VUU at Property Cosa, so they must understand that. Okay, so that's
Anton, can I
yes, sir.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes.
Yeah, I tried this last week. It does work, but just to share the experience, I'm sure others got it. It's quite sensitive, so all fields need to complete it. And if you're struggling for postcode, just put in 2000, and then it will
Yes.
be fine. I tested it out on the family. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so they do need to fill in all fields, and that's very specific. Remember, this is not Anton's requirement. This is a requirement of the Disaster Management Act. So if the client says, oh, I'm filling in your form, well, then you're not looking at the house. I'm not coming near you because you go to jail for it. It's a contravention. It's a criminal offense. Okay, so it's not us. Sorry, guys, you live in a COVID world. Okay, and speaking about COVID, you guys, just embrace this. You might have heard about the first wave and how terrible it is, and then we heard about the second wave, and now they're talking about the third wave. It's not going away. So you better get handled on this paperless stuff. Learn to love it. Okay, so if we go back there, we sent that to this one, landlord or owner. We send it to the landlord or the owner when we first meet them. We say, here's a form. I want you to give me permission to bring people to your place. And you're going to need to update it quite regularly, especially if the guy travels, or especially if he's being exposed. Like every week or so, I think you're going to have to get a new form. So if nothing's happened, then it'll be fine. But I mean, if the guy's gone overseas, you're going to fill the form in again. Okay, so you're just going to use your logic. I don't want to say it's going to be filled in every time. I don't want to say it can be filled in once a week. It's not about that. It's about you using your COP and deciding what the appropriate timing is. The second form, this one here, the COVID viewings client contact, that's for everybody else that wants to come to this poor man's property that he's selling or renting. And again, all you do is you send this link to your peeps, and they click on it, and boom, client viewing form, and they fill that in. And this is about who they are, so we can track them. And it tells us if they've got pain and suffering, and they submit, and you get a copy of it. And again, you get a copy, and I'll get a copy. So if you don't get a copy, email Angela or phone her or WhatsApp her and say, listen, have you got a copy of this guy's form? He may have got my name wrong. Because remember, our email address is anton.fundafenta@propertycoza.co.za. Is the stupidest email address on the planet, but it's ours. So that's what we have to work with. But it's nice to engage with your clients about stuff like that, because it forms a bit of a relationship. But of course, the easiest thing to do is to send them your email address in WhatsApp and say, use it exactly as it is. Okay. Or your digital card where they've got it saved. Okay, are there any questions about the COVID stuff? This was just to keep you up to, you notice we've changed the names now. So when you send it to the person, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. We had those horrible URLs, and Ellen Bell took one look at it and went crazy. But now we've got it, landlord Property Cosa or tenant Property Cosa. It's a little bit more friendly. Okay, so are there any questions on the forms?
Yeah, question, Anton. I'm sure this is going to happen. I mean, obviously, we want to take the buyers through on their private viewings. If a client doesn't get the form back to us prior to the viewing, must we cancel the viewing? Because that's quite a hard thing for us to suck up.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If a guy's not responding with the COVID form, then what I would do is keep a paper one in the car. And if you haven't got one, resort to paper. You know what I mean? But if the guy's refusing to sign the form, then he can't come into the house. That's a no-brainer. But I mean, if he's just forgotten, I don't think
it's the refusal. We know how people are. They get busy, and you nag them, and it still doesn't happen. And now it's half an hour before you're going to the property. Just take a paper-based form through. Is that correct? Yes.
Well, what I would do is get out the car and say, "Where's the form? I haven't done it." We'll do it. Stand in front of me and do it. You got it to the phone.
Okay.
All right. It comes to you instantly. Okay.
Just a quick comment there, Anton. Sometimes if a buyer comes with another party that I don't know about, I use the form to find out who they are.
For the second person, yes, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that question too. If you do a viewing and a guy sends back the form and 2 people get out the car and then the back door opens and 9 guys get out, then you're going to split the group. Divide yourself up into sets of 2, and these 2 fill in the form. Here's the URL. You 2 fill in the form, and you 2 fill in the form. Because you have to protect. You have to be seen to be managing a pandemic. You can't just like say, we'll pull in. So social distancing, masks, sanitize, and the right thing to do is to have a thermometer and to test people on the spot. Yeah, what's the temperature? My temperature is 36.5. It always is. I don't know why. Maybe I'm a...
Anton, I agree with you. I keep manual forms as well, because sometimes when people arrive, they haven't got data. There are all sorts of stories. So it's good to have, and it's good to, it's a great way of getting a record of all the other people in the party. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a great excuse, because if we did this to them without COVID, they would say, no, I'm not filling that in.
Yes.
So my comment about the URL was, I don't know if you've noticed, when you paste the URL into WhatsApp, it pops up a header,
Yes.
which has got a lot more stuff around it. Can we get that shrunk down or change the wording to say declaration, not valuation, or something like that? Just
I'll
post
have
it.
a look at it. Yeah.
Please send it to yourself, or I'll send it to you now.
Okay.
And then you can see the heading that goes above the URL. That's the issue. It's confusing. It's got all sorts of funny words in there and stuff like that.
Cool.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Right. That's covered. Done. Okay, now.
Okay, Anton, good morning.
Yes, Malcolm, how's it?
Yeah, right, all right. So this form now, for an empty house, I don't need it, right?
You do need it, Malcolm, because you're exposed. So the problem that you've got is not about the house actually. So the owner will have given you permission, and now you've got a viewing. And yes, it's tempting to let the viewing slip without the form. But the problem is that if you get COVID tomorrow, you better be able to contact that client and prove it. And if he gets COVID and they say to him, where have you been? And they come back, I was at a meeting with Malcolm. And it turns out that you gave it to him. Where's the contact? The contact chain is not a negotiation in the Disaster Management Act. It's a requirement of the Act. So you have to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if there's a tenant, also my tenant, let's say the place is tenanted, and I'm coming with probably a buyer or another tenant that should be moving in. Who signs now the thing?
Yeah, the tenant can do the either the landlord one or the viewing one. It doesn't matter as long as you've got the information that they're safe, that they're not sick, and that they undertake to allow what you've done. I would make the tenant sign the landlord one because he's the person in the place. But then they must get out of the place. They mustn't actually be there during the viewing. They must go and stand in the garden. So you must be no near contact with them at all. But yeah, the forms are not okay. You can't choose. You have to have them.
Anton, just from a credibility point of view, because obviously we can use this as a, we're adhering to professional standards under the Disaster Management Act. Is it legislation? Can we tell about, if you've just been to a Pan Golding house and they didn't do anything apart from just wear a mask and sanitizer, can we tell them it's actually law? If we take you to this house, you need to complete a protocol form.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but I can tell you what the Disaster Management Act says, that any commercial enterprise has to take specific precautions and manage COVID. And that implies, like if you go to anywhere, a barber, a restaurant, they have a form, they're meant to record your name, and they're getting a bit slack, but most shops have got some kind of tracing and contacting. So that it is a requirement of the Act. Now, where the legality stands, I'm not sure of that. But there's no doubt about it, that if you're a commercial enterprise, as you are, and we are acting for Property COSA, that you need to protect everybody that you touch. And so the landlord, the clients, everybody around that scenario needs to be able to depend on you to protect them. So if you don't do it, and somebody gets sick and dies, I think they can hold you liable because you're acting outside the Act. The Act makes specific reference to overt behavior to protect people. So So you can't actually just abandon it, I would say. Okay, any questions on COVID? Right.